I wanna try and take in all the highs, embrace them for more than a moment's time. I want you, please don't move when I push you away. I know I contradict myself some days, but will you ride the lows with me?
Welcome to Mental Health News Radio. I am your host, Kristen Sunanta Walker. Our goal is to help discussions about mental health be a regular part of your daily life, no different than discussions about physical health. Mental illness can be a topic of discussion under the umbrella of mental health, along with so many other topics. This show is the original program on mentalhealthnewsradionetwork.com. Our network of shows are played in over 180 countries and cover more topics under that umbrella than you can possibly imagine. We were talking about mental health long before it became cool and popular to talk about, and thank goodness it has become so popular. We have incredible guests, advocates, patients, experts, people. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy our intro music, a song named Lows, written by Aubrey Toon. You can find her music at www.aubreytoone.com.
That night when I started praying, I cried. Will you ride the lows with me? Will you ride the lows with me? When I'm down, my vision gets blurry.
Joe, hey, how are ya?
Kristen, how are you?
Good. We're here to talk about men and mental health, and I'm going to talk about stuff that I'm ticked about, and I'm a woman in mental health. So, hey, it's a free-for-all.
So it's a joint unit. It's a joint unisex mental health show today.
That's
Sounds
right.
good.
Exactly. So, I love the topic that we've been that we talk about, privately, and then I've certainly covered it on shows where when you start really feeling better about yourself and you start valuing yourself, you definitely have some exits in your life, and some of those can be painful, very painful, and some of them can be scary. That can happen. And I love what Martha always says to me about, well, you're just checking your work, when I call her, and she doesn't go, oh, another toxic person in your life. She says, you're just checking your work.
I've been talking with her as well, and she uses that line with me a lot.
Yep. Yeah. And I love that. And I love Kristen, when there is no part of you that thinks less of yourself, when you really are on an even keel about who you really are, you won't have these kind of people in your life at all, because they won't be attracted to you, and you wouldn't tolerate them longer than 3 seconds.
And that's the thing. I think, for me, I can only speak for me personally, but it gets to the point where you have to define your own worth, because in my life, it seems like when I allow people to take advantage of me, and I don't stand up for myself, what I'm essentially doing is I am teaching and training these people how to treat me, and that it's okay to treat me that way. Because the truth is, we get so upset when people treat us bad, but how often do we tell that person that we don't like the way we're being treated? So if the person doesn't know how they're affecting us, is it really their fault for treating us that way, or is it our fault for allowing it? And that, I think, is the fine line that I really struggle with, because I think I take a lot of abuse. I've told you, because I look a certain way. I'm covered in tattoos. So I try to be extra nice so people aren't scared of me. And I think because of that, I allow people to go a little further than they should. And when it hurts me, I just sit back and say, okay, well, I'm going to let them get away with that, because I don't want them to see me get upset or anything like that.
Well, the only thing that made me perk my ears up in what you just said was the word fault.
Yes.
Because I don't think that I think we do enough self-blame. I don't think that that word is a fair word. I felt like, wait a minute, Joe's talking about fault about this situation. I love Joe. I think he's an incredible human being. Fault doesn't fit for me in that equation. But I know what you mean. I know where you're coming from.
Well, I I think that if I saw myself the way you see me, for example, every time I talk to you, every time I get off the phone with you, I feel better. I just do. Like you give me this confidence. You make me feel not like I'm an important person, but you always seem to raise me up a little bit. And
Mhm.
I think what I struggle with is a lot of my, the perception of myself at times.
Of
So
course.
so if people see me negatively, and in the past I've surrounded myself with a lot of those people, I think that's a little contagious, and I start to believe it.
Yep. It
And that's
is.
what yeah.
It is. It's like it's, I've seen this especially with Martha, but I have this ability to not maybe not as powerful as she does. She's got more years of practice, but I've seen her walk into a room with a lot of people and people who, you know, w- have varying degrees of what kind of a human being they are. And
Mhm.
every single one of them, from the most deplorable person to the most wonderful person, across the board, everybody feels better because she just shifts the energy in the room. And it isn't like a voodoo power that she's enforcing upon people. She just sort of, I don't know, scatters atoms or something. And then people kind of raise up to the next level of who they are. So like I said, it could be someone who's really awful and maybe they get to, not so awful.
Yeah, and it's just like when I talk to you, when I talk to her, I get off the phone and I feel different. But it's the law of attraction. When you surround yourself with five negative people, you become negative. When you surround
Yeah.
yourself with positive people, you become positive. And and for me, when I was just living in that negativity, and I didn't care who I was around. I just needed to be around people because I was so codependent on anybody because I hated being in my own skin.
Yeah.
I became what I surrounded myself with, people who don't care. When people don't care about you, you can't care about yourself.
Absolutely. And I call that, and I probably have said it already with you, but some of that is flea and ticks, which is
Yes,
a syndrome I made up.
we've talked about this. Yeah.
I mean, I can have that too. And like I know better than to move. And this is big for, the addiction community. Like you don't move to a neighborhood that has alcohol, drug fueled parties every night and is known as the party neighborhood if you're in recovery.
I agree.
It's
I
like,
agree.
so,
Yeah.
we do have to really plot a course of, okay, is this good for me? Is this da, da, da? And what's interesting about that is it's really easy to look at someone else's life and say, okay, is this going to be good for them? Maybe they should think about doing something else. But we don't tend to put as much stock into doing that for our own lives.
Oh, I'm the king of do what I say, not what I do.
Yeah,
I really am.
I have been too, big time. I think I'm much more closer to the mark now than I've ever been. But, years, decades of do what I say, not what I do. I mean,
Yeah.
just insane. And now, my I used to be concerned. You were talking about, your own anger and not wanting to, maybe scare people or what have you. I mean, I know that I've been like that as well for different reasons. And now I'm like, you know what? I am angry about something or I'm, upset or whatever. And I'm just going to be that. I feel much more comfortable taking up space in this world than I ever have.
For me, it's a work in progress, but I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, it's part of that whole, do I deserve to be here? Do I deserve to take up space? Oh, I mean, just, it's an interesting paradox we get ourselves into. And when you're a highly empathic person and you just carry emotional weight for other people and you don't even realize it because it's just as natural as breathing.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example. I had a talk with my mom the other day, and she was having an epiphany about something, and I'm listening to her. And when somebody gets something, you applaud that they get it, a lifelong issue they've had, but then you also, I do anyway, maybe nobody else does, but I sometimes, if it's been a big problem, if their issue has had such a huge negative impact on my life, I can sit there with my teeth gritted while I'm saying, good for you, because I know how much that thing that they just got has damaged me.
Yeah. Yes. but
God.
but I can't let them know that, and I try to be supportive as, and I'm right there with you on that one.
Well, I let her know it.
Oh, you did?
I did. I usually
Okay.
don't. I don't, but I did. I said, yeah, well, remember when I was living with you after my stepfather died, and you would get so angry with me because I wasn't doing this or I wasn't doing that. And what was really hard was carrying the emotional weight of you was so exhausting that I didn't have the physical energy to plant flowers or, clean the house in the way that you wanted, even though you had housekeepers. Like I said, there are intangibles that empaths carry that people, you're lazy, you're this or you're that. And then when you leave, because you've had it, they fall because they don't realize the amount of emotional stuff that you have been carrying for them.
It's interesting. As you were just saying that, I realized that a lot of the people that I was able to be honest with and talk to are deceased.
Mm.
For example, I had that relationship with my mother, who I could say anything to. I had that relationship with my grandparents. They're both deceased. My best friend Nicole, she passed away. I don't have many people like that in my life that I can be open and honest with without not fear of being judged, but I still feel like I walk on eggshells with certain people.
Mm. Well, that's you walking on eggshells with yourself, probably more than anything.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because in my head, what I do is I think about what I'm going to say and I conjure up this idea how it's going to be perceived. But it's
Mm.
my idea of how they're going to perceive it. It's not there. It's not factual. It's just
Right.
what I feel is going to be, the result of me talking. So you're right. The eggshells lie within me.
It's so interesting when you do break free of some of that, even a smidge, which
Hmm.
you are, which you are.
I have my moments.
Yeah. And they start with that. They start with little moments, and they may happen every few years, and then they start happening every few months, and then they start happening every few weeks, and then it's every few days. For me now, it's more in the same day. Like it's been going on a long time, and now those things happen within the same day. So that's progress.
Well, I will say, and I hate to admit that it came to this, but when you essentially, like in other areas of life, you have to hit your rock bottom. You have to hit
Yeah.
your low point. You have to find your breaking point until you say, I can't do this anymore. I can't be treated like this anymore. I'm not going to allow this person to get away with verbally ridiculing me, financially trying to bankrupt me, like
Mm.
whatever's going on in your life. If you don't take a stand and you just let it go, then that you're going to carry that into the next relationship or to the next aspect of your life until you take a stand and say, I'm not going to allow this anymore.
Very true. And sometimes those stands, because you're shaky, like you're on shaky ground, you haven't built up the muscles, because it is muscle building to take stands. So
Oh,
you
yes.
take that stand and you're I'm taking a stand, and sometimes they're just huge. Like the
Mhm.
reaction to something is way disproportionate to what actually happened, but that's what you need to do to take a stand, and then that starts to lessen over time. And now I had somebody just all out attack me on social media, and they're not really attacking me. Obviously, they're attacking some projected whatever, because then I don't
Mhm.
know this person. And I've done enough taking a stance on those kinds of things that now I can just go, whatever, and just ignore it. But it took a lot of, no, for me to get to this point where I'm like, okay. Because it didn't rock my world. I went, oh, that's disturbing. That is someone in a lot of pain. I hope that they get some help. Whereas even 6 months ago, I probably would have been like calling all my friends, can you believe it?
Yes, yeah, and again, like you, I love what you said about it. It takes it's muscle memory. It's still, it's still building the muscles to be able to, defend yourself. And for me, it's the repetition. And I have years of I have years of being treated like this. You would think I'd be an expert at it now, but it's still a work in progress for
Thank
me.
God you're not, thank God you're not, because if you were a quote unquote expert on it and it didn't rattle you, that would mean that you're complacent about how you feel about yourself.
Oh,
And
you're absolutely,
you're not.
absolutely. No, I'm not. And what's that saying? If you think you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the
Right.
wrong room, or something like that. You
Yeah.
know, I've learned now that I will. There is no roof. There is no cap to knowledge. There is no cap to education. And that's why I live by the rule: if you label yourself, you limit yourself. And I believe that in almost every walk of life possible.
So true. So true. That
Mhm.
I can't, yeah. Very, very true. Whenever, you have to look at where you have to try to look at. This is why I love the mental health field, because at least you try to look at where someone is coming from. So I know if someone is talking too much, or if they're um in your face about whatever, or in anybody's face about whatever, I can look at it from a mental health lens and go, this could be an addiction response, this could be a depression response, this could be a trauma response, and have a more basic understanding, so I don't just blast someone. Where I get, not like I used to, but I still can get kind of taken aback, is outside of mental health, like dealing with the regulars, people that
Mhm.
are clueless about it, or whatever, or just don't know anything about it, whatever, where they just blast somebody without taking into consideration what could be going on. Not that you are this person that gets walked all over because, oh, it's mental health, forgive everybody. No, no, no. I don't mean that. I just mean taking a moment to have an understanding of something and depersonalizing it.
Exactly. And then for me, the flip side to that is, how is my response? Is my response based on my past trauma? Is my response based on my past addiction?
Right.
So not only am I trying to not analyze, but figure out where they're coming from. Now I have to sit back in my emotion to what they just said, and I have to realize: am I going to respond? Vindictively? Am I going to respond because they hit a nerve about something that happened in my life, that they don't even realize they hit? So are they guilty of that? Like, it's a process for me to, have one of those not vital conversations, but one of those intense, moments where, how am I going to respond to what they just came at me with?
Right. Right. I'll tell you this. This was interesting. I had this happen yesterday. I had One thing I can say, and listeners, I say this to you too. A thing with podcasting is there are a lot of podcasters out there that are constantly on the hunt for great guests. And I have never in the history of podcasting ever, ever been at a lack for great guests. Ever. I don't know why. Maybe I'm in a groove. I don't know what it is, but I never don't have amazing people. And so a way that people think and that they can help you if you have a great guest on and they say, "Oh, I want to help you. I love this mission." Da, 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 da. They think that, "Oh, well, I'm going to just refer you a bunch of people to be guests." And I have to educate them a little bit. Some of them I just say thanks and it wasn't a great interview. So I'm like, I don't want anyone, you referred me. But on the other side of that is me saying, I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. However, I have been doing this so long. I really only want to share airtime with people that I want to spend that time with. I am never at a loss for great guests. I could do shows only with people on this network for 6 months and have and have that be the most amazing guest ever. I mean, it's just, so when you're sending me someone, you're sending me a cost because I've got to pay to edit that show. I have to pay to market it. I have to, put energy into that. You're sending me something that costs me money. So what I would love for you to do is instead send me people who want to join the network with an existing show, or they want to start a podcast and use their voice to be in service to others. That is more helping me than sending me guests. And some people are like, So I had one of those situations where I thought someone was coming to me because someone referred them, to be a guest. And I thought they were coming to talk about being on the network. And it was really interesting to speak to someone who has no idea about mental health,
Oh boy.
whose website is horrible, looks horrible. And I'm not, there are people, whatever, that's what it is, and has no idea what it took to build this network, how many podcasters we have, all those things. But then they start telling you how to run your business.
Uh, that's
It's,
definitely a lip biter,
yeah. And, it was interesting because in the past, I was sitting and I was like, okay, well, this happened for a reason. So I'm just going to listen to this person say whatever they feel like they need to share with me. They're certainly not going to join the network, and I probably wouldn't allow them to anyway. They know nothing about mental health. So this is, and I can get angry about a wasted half an hour of my time, or I can look at the nugget of whatever in it. And the nugget for me was, okay, where's my ego? Like my ego is I'm doing pretty good with my ego, because maybe even a year ago, I would have been like, how dare you? I have this network. I blah, 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 blah. And I didn't come at it. And that would be a insecure response, an ego response. And this time it was, no, it's a fact that I do have this network that a lot of people have created. It's tremendous. It's wonderful. Oh, I hate using the word tremendous. It sounds like Donald Trump. Anyway, you know what I mean? I can sit with that and be like, that is a factual thing. My ego is not overblown about it. And this person has whatever it is they're trying to do is not, I don't even have to get angry about it. I can just go, okay, thank you.
so
Bye-bye.
okay, let me ask you. So your response, you just said your response 6 months ago would have been different than it was. So how did you feel giving a more positive response? Was it self-healing? Was it like, did you feel, because for me, when I respond differently than I've grown accustomed to, I feel kind of strange, like I almost feel out of place. So was it a good feeling, or was it like oh my God, like I'm out of character of sorts?
I think the months leading up to now, I felt like that, out of character. I got to check in with people that know me really well and go, what was that? What was that about? Where I'm at now is I vented to my partner, and that was the extent of it. And it was a little vent. And then I did not even think about it. Cause for me, like the rumination on things over just about things that drive my mind insane and cause me stress has been a problem my whole life. And I didn't even have a nanosecond of rumination about it.
That's fantastic because I've learned, and what helps me is I realize that just because somebody else plants a seed, the reason it grows into some astronomical, whatever, is because I'm the one who continues to water it. If they plant the seed and I don't do anything with it, that's not going to grow. But if somebody irritates me or somebody puts me in a position, if I'm the one who constantly focuses on it, then now the problem becomes mine because I'm the one who's creating it.
Yeah, isn't that a trip?
Yes.
I remember that. I heard this a long time ago, and it stuck with me, as many things Oprah has said, because she was a part of my childhood. Like watching her show was a big
Oh,
thing.
mine too. Mine too.
But she was saying how someone had just, done something horrible to her, like sold her out on her most private details. This was a friend, had stolen money, like done horrible stuff, and she's had a lot of horrible shit done to her, And she said, and then I was walking down the street and I saw them across the street at a lunch or shopping or whatever with other people. And they were just laughing and laughing and having the grandest time. And I was so angry. I was like, how dare you? How can you be happy with this stuff? How can you live with yourself? And that's when she realized, oh, okay, I got to let this go. I got to learn how to let these things go because it's just poisoning me.
Well, on that note, let me share with you something that recently that I'm going through. You are very well aware. You and I have talked on the air and off the air about my childhood past, things, my abuse as a child. I was molested until I was 12 years old. One of the most difficult things that I have faced is confiding in people about that. Now, I'm very open about it, but when there's a difference between being open, talking on a podcast or in a group, or actually sitting down and talking to somebody who I, at the moment, trust. When that information that I provide that person, when the relationship goes bad or whatever, and that gets thrown back in my face and literally get made fun of for it, like literally use that my past against me, it is one of the most horrific forms of betrayal that I have ever experienced. And luckily it's only happened twice on two different levels. I confided in a friend and he basically just stopped talking to me. Apparently what happened to me as a child bothered him more than it bothered me. Which is fine. I get that.
Right.
But recently I have had a falling out with an individual, and this individual at any given point feels the need to mock, make fun of, use it against me in any way that that person can. And I'm now in that position as Oprah is or was walking down the street. Like, how can you live with yourself knowing that that's the type of person that you are? And my mind 6 months ago, a year ago, definitely 10 years ago, would be outright, let's go to war. I'm seeking revenge. So right now I'm in that, how do I deal with this stage? So that's just something that I've been going through recently.
Yeah, it's so freaking hard.
Yeah.
That is, and that doesn't go away. I mean, that doesn't go away. You're not going to escape that kind of stuff. You're just not going to for the rest of your life. I think I'm learning about what it is to be the quiet mountain.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Like and it's not because I'm trying to suppress my voice or anything, because no one would ever accuse me of suppressing my voice. But
nope.
But it's like, okay, I've done this. I'm really good at it. I have developed amazing skills around using my voice. I've been made fun of in those ways too. And I think I've just started talking about being abused publicly since I was 14 in 1984. And so I got used to people being aghast and disgusted. And I got used to the slings and arrows at a really young age for talking out. It doesn't mean it didn't hurt every single time, and sometimes more than other, depending on the person that was doing it. It just, I did develop my own trauma response to that stuff. And so
Yeah.
now I'm like, okay, well, I don't have to prove how sharp my sword is in that way anymore. I'm in this life to experience things. I want to see what it is to be that quiet mountain person. And what I mean by that is, the only way I can do it is by example. So I live in this place that is billed as a community living, and it is not that in any way, shape, or form. Like, not in any way, shape, or form. But it's sold as that in order to get people to move here.
Okay.
So what's been interesting is to just, instead of getting all involved, which I did a little bit, and then I pulled out, now I'm very quiet. I keep to myself. I don't have communication. I've really good boundaries up with people, including erecting a fence, a literal fence, to be like,
Nice.
you can't come on my porch because my dogs will get you. They'll just jump on you and get you all dirty. They're not going to bite you, but they'll get you. And I'm like watching how interesting it is and how intriguing it seems to be to people when you are quiet, when you are the quiet mountain, because no one is going to look at me. Well, that's not true. Somebody could look at me, but I am a tower of strength, and so are you. Now I'm a tower of quiet strength, and I'm kind of enjoying the view. Like, oh, this is interesting. I know how to yell. I know how to get my words out. I know how to do all that stuff, but now I'm enjoying playing around with quietness. And it's really it intrigues people. I'm telling you, people have always copied what I do. And I really don't mean that from an egotistical way. They just have. And I've always been, it's freaked me out. It's never made me go, ha, ha, ha. They always have. But it's weird when they do it when you're quiet, because I thought you had to be loud for that to happen. I thought you had to be out there. And I don't mean loud, like just yelling, but just kind of a loud way you live your life to do that.
Mhm.
But no, they actually copy you more when you're quiet because they're intrigued.
Well, I think that comes from growth. I think, and I'm also one of those people who I mirror you any way I can. I have many situations in life where I'm like, what would Kristen do in this moment? I do,
Freak
and
the F out. No, I'm kidding.
no, it helps me. It really does. But when you grow, like I just said, like months ago, years ago, it would be all out war, revenge, and I don't need that right now,
Yeah.
because I'm not going to let somebody else's opinion of me define who I am at all. And that's something that in recovery, from my drug and alcohol, problem, I made a promise to myself that I was never going to allow anybody to control my emotions, both positively or negatively. Because even when somebody controls me positively, what happens when that person goes away or there's a fight or a disagreement? Am I then going to give up my happiness because that person is no longer happy? Like, at some point, I had to put my feet on the ground and say, this is who I am. I'm going to enjoy life. I'm going to enjoy the people in it, whether it's a bad situation or a good situation. But unless my feet are firmly planted on the ground, then I'm just going to be floating around and allowing all these other people to dictate how I'm feeling throughout the course of the day or my life.
Right.
And that's not how I want to live anymore.
Yes. And it's like this too, which doesn't really help you feel better. But when someone is trying to belittle another person in the way that you're talking about, especially over their worst trauma in their life, that is a disgusting, vile person that, or their behavior anyway. I try not to say vile person. Their behavior is absolutely vile. And it really does say everything. everything about them and literally nothing about you.
Yes, and that is the difference today than years ago. Because who knows? I either would have gotten angry, or even worse than getting angry, what I would have done is I would have crawled into a hole and I would have done everything in my power to get this person to like me again. And then I would have
Yeah.
allowed the abuse to continue even more, just because I couldn't deal with somebody being upset with me. And
Yeah.
I wanted them to have this great picture of who I am. I don't care anymore. And even though, yes, it was hurtful, and it was hurtful because it forced me subconsciously to relive things that I didn't really necessarily want to relive.
Right. And probably didn't
However,
need to relive either.
right, I didn't need to relive them. However, the way I handled it, or the way I am handling it, is is growth. And that's something I can hang my hat on and actually be proud of myself. And
You're
you
being a
know as
quiet
well,
mountain, the tower, the quiet tower of strength.
there you go. And you know as well as I do that, it's very difficult for me to say that I'm proud of myself. So that is my work in progress.
It is. Yeah, I think we should title this show "Being Proud of Yourself" because yeah, it like how hard it is to actually do that. And when I have so many different friends, as everybody, well, not everybody does, but as a lot of people have, and I did not have that forever, and just in my late 40s and well, mid 40s and so on is now this bursting with friends. And it's so interesting for me to talk to, like, let's say a Dr. Paul Meyer, who really he had his stuff growing up and he's talked about it on many shows, but he had two loving parents, loving brothers and sisters. Some of the things that he will share on shows that his brother or his sister would say to him to like get him out of a hole or help him. I'm like, oh my God, what would my life have been like if I had anybody like
Yeah.
that?
Yes.
And
Hmm.
I don't get mad or angry that he had that. I think it's amazing. It's amazing. And it does make me see, oh, okay, that's how he could write over 100 books and be a psychiatrist and be an national speaker and blah 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 and all these things that he's done in his life because he didn't come from this horrid trauma that you spend most of your life trying to recover from and heal from, and then you go about the business of, well, maybe I should focus on my career.
Right. That, you pretty much just summed up my life right there.
Isn't it true though? Isn't that I get it. There are people that have lived worse lives and they've done amazing. I understand that there are people that do that too. I am not one of those people. Like, it's taken me forever just to be in recovery with what happened to me. So that is my reason for not getting a PhD, for not being able to handle school, for not having millions of all that. And I'm okay
Hmm.
with that.
I'm okay with it. I am, but like we've talked about, privately, I'm not where I want to be in my life. But now, even in talking to you and in talking with Martha recently, it's like, okay, my job for 20 years was to be a complete screw up. I was a complete drug addict. I was a complete alcoholic. So now my job for the past 8 years has been to remain sober and to not let what happened to me as a child creep back up, in a destructive way in my life. So now
Right.
here I am, 43. And yes, I'm happy with what I've overcome. I'm happy where my mind is today, but I still feel like I'm way behind the curve when it comes to career and financial,
Yeah.
because I haven't been able to focus on that because life has dictated that I have to focus on these other things that I didn't want to focus on.
No shit. Isn't that the freaking truth? Oh
So,
my God. It's so true. It's so true. I don't understand why some people can do all those things that society deems as great, whatever, master's degree and a PhD at whatever, multiple business owner, millionaire, like whatever. That good for you. I'm happy for you. That's amazing. I hope you're doing good with it in the world. I hope you're helping other people. But some of us have to have a lot of trauma to freaking climb and claw and muck through.
I'll be honest, like when I see my friends post things on social media, like new car, new house, promotion at work, at
Mhm.
first I was very envious. And you know what? Now I'm to the point where I'm honestly very happy for them
Yeah.
because I'm glad that I look, I know abuse and addiction. I know that happens to a lot of people, but for those who did not experience that, I'm very happy that they have the life that they have.
Yeah.
I truly am. And that's something that I was very bitter and, like I said, envious of for a long time. But it's different now. I know where I'm at in life. I know where I want to be. I know, where I'm hopefully going. So I don't hold any animosity towards people who didn't experience the things I did because again, it's not like I asked for any of
Right.
my childhood.
Right. Right. I know. And then see, this is the interesting thing about you, and this is what I love, and this is what Martha loves as well. When people hear about Martha and what I say about her, I'll give you an example. I had someone that just, oh, I want to, work with Martha. I want to work with Martha, want to work with Martha. And I have sent her people with mixed results. Because I mean, Martha really truly determines who she's going to work with and who she isn't. And she doesn't care if it's my best friend, my family member, whatever. If she doesn't feel like she can help someone, she won't. And sometimes the I can't help this person isn't, a lot of times it's not, it's never is a judgment about their availability to be helped. It's just she doesn't feel like she's the right person. Right. And so I introduced this person to her and immediately regretted it. And I kept saying to them, if you think that you're going to go to someone like her, because there are many people like her, and you think that it's going to be that you're going to start farting rainbows and skipping through life, you have got another thing coming. Like if you've never dealt with your addiction issues, you've never gone to counseling of any kind, and you think that the next step for you after not doing all this other trauma work is to then go see a shaman of the highest order, then you are in a fairyland. You will be creamed.
Yep. And I mean, that's like anything else. And you know this more than I do. You have to put the work in because
Yes.
it's not going to be handed to you. I'll give you the short version of the story that I would tell a room full of people in recovery. Like if somebody were to come up to you and hand you $100 bill and say, here, take this money, go do whatever you want with it. You're not going home with that money. You're not putting that money in a bank account. That money is basically a license to steal because they just handed it to you for nothing.
Hmm.
Then I tell people, go out and work for 10 straight hours to make that same $100 bill. Or are you going to spend it as frivolously as you just did? And the answer is
Mm.
no. And the reason is because you earned it, because you deserved it, you worked for it. That's like anything else in life. You can't just call somebody or go to a meeting or go to a shaman and your life is automatically better. You still have to put the work in. And if it is handed to you, then it's not worth it because it's not even yours.
Exactly. You can't take someone, you can't look at someone who has been through all this shite and who's working with a shaman when they have worked with God knows how many other people, how many other shamans, how many other counselors, whatever, been in recovery many times, whatever. You can't look at where they're at now and go, oh, I want that. But I want the express train version. I want to not have to do all the other stuff and then just get to the ooey gooey part. I'm like, if you really want this, then you better be ready. Like you better be in warrior mode. If you're telling me, oh, I would have loved to always go to a counselor. I'd love to go to a counselor. And I'm like, then go.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Absolutely.
I don't need this ninny, whatever of, oh, I'd love to. But now I'm going to go talk to the shaman that's going to rock my world and make me see things that I just absolutely am ill prepared to see.
Right. And then I'm going to hang up the phone and my life's going to be perfect. Like, like we
Doesn't
have a
work
set.
like that.
it doesn't work like that. There's a saying in the recovery world for counselors and therapists, you have to meet your client, you have to meet the individual who's struggling where they are.
Mhm.
But what they don't tell you is for the individual that's struggling is you have to meet yourself where you are. You can't
Yeah.
have these horrible, or not horrible, you can't have these, elaborate expectations of what your life is and then look at or look at where your life wants to be and then look at where you are now, because you're going to do nothing but disappoint and depress yourself. You have to be comfortable where you are to take that next step.
Yeah, and the other thing of that's so true, and another piece of that is then you tack on being an empath on top of that, and there's being empathetic, and then there's being an empath, and guess what? It is such a widely used term now that it's being used in the New York Times. Okay, mainstream media is using the term empath, which is freaking phenomenal. But here's what an empath does. Not only do you meet people where they're at, you actually embody where they're at. So if you don't have the metal to embody where somebody's at, you are yourself going to get depressed, fall back on your addiction, your recovery promise, all these things, because you don't know how to handle where they're at. And it's not just from an intellectual, it's feeling exactly where they're at.
You are exactly correct. And the word empath, though it is becoming mainstream, um, I'm learning, and you and Martha have helped me greatly. I apparently am one,
Yep.
which I was unaware of, and it's not even something that I necessarily wanted, but it's something that I have to figure out. It's something that I have to embrace, because I look at my life and I look at the people that have been in it, and it does. My personality mirrors who I am around. And when
Mhm.
somebody is in pain, I take that pain. And the weird part is they always seem to get better, but
Yes.
I get stuck with it. And then it carries on to the next phase of my life. And then I'm like, wait a minute.
So true. So true. That is, there is a reason why. And Joe has told me, my editors told me, don't keep saying this. I'm going to say it for this time only. And Joe, you can edit it or not, but it's, why do you think that we used to tell everything in fables? That's how we told the stories of our time. So where do you think stories about a succubus came from?
You know, that
Someone who lays in bed with you every night and sucks all your essence and becomes more beautiful and amazing every single day. And you're dying.
mhm. And that just tells me that we better embrace who we are and essentially learn how to control it, because that is an inner power that can be used for a lot of good in this world, you know
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
that's what I'm trying to get to. Like, I don't want to be a master shaman, or I just want to be the best version of who I am. But in order to do that, I have to meet myself where I'm at. I have to figure out my strengths, and I have to learn my weaknesses, and I just have to be the master of my own mind and body.
Well, here's what I want to leave you with today. You know how Martha's big on what if? What if you what ifed that statement? Not I have to be the master. What if I am the master of my mind and my body?
Well, here's the thing. I know I am. I just have to believe it. I have to have the confidence to believe it at any situation that gets presented to me.
So you what if a lot. That's what I'm saying. You have to, because that is how, you got to play it until you believe it, kind of a thing. And what if helps, like, the universe wants to answer our questions. It doesn't want us to tell it, I have to do this. I have to da da da. Because the universe wants to, it's about creation. So you're telling it what to do. But if you what if about something, regardless of what it is, what if I stop getting a hangnail, because they're very painful, whatever it is, you're letting it do its work. Okay. There's a question. I can now rush in to provide the answer to this. And that can be over crap things too. Listen, there are a lot of
Oh, absolutely.
horrible people out there that know how to manifest like a mother, because
Hmm.
the universe, is just its principles. It's a general set of rules and whatever. It's not, it's not, it doesn't only work for Democrats and not Republicans or vice versa. It just is. So you're right. An empath especially has to learn how to master it. And that's the journey that you're on. And you're on it younger than I was, Joe. I
Well,
didn't
see,
learn about it until I was like 47 and you or 46 maybe.
I'm 43 for
And
for
you're
a few more
younger.
months. So, and once again, talking to you makes me feel better about my life.
Yay! That's all I need for the whole rest of the day. Like, I've done my job. Yes.
Well, you are amazing at it, and over the past almost 2 years now that I've
Yeah.
known you, I mean, that's really when I have moments of coming into my own, and
Yeah.
who I'm supposed to be, who I want to be.
Who you
Because,
actually are.
well, thank you, I still have that self doubt, and
Of course. So
I'm
do
still
I.
working on redefining myself, like we all are.
Absolutely. And it's just getting closer to seeing yourself from that vantage point of who you actually are, which the one person in my life that has helped me see that more than anyone has been Martha. And so whatever I may do with somebody else is literally me just uh passing on something that I've learned. And it's amazing. It's amazing to look at people and say who they really are, and it's amazing to know of yourself, even in little glimpses sometimes.
Yes, yes.
remembering, oh yeah, this is who I am. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. It's all good. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be right at this moment. It's all good.
We got to meet ourselves where we're at.
Exactly. Well, thank you, my friend. I love these shows. I love them. I need them. They're wonderful. They make me feel good. I'm glad they make you feel good too. I never want to not do them.
Oh, I can't even tell you how much I enjoy doing these.
Fantastic. Well, until next week, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Men and Mental Health on Mental Health News Radio with Joe Mitch and me. Hi, listeners. I'll make it quick. These are some really cool places that give discounts and other cool things for listeners of Mental Health News Radio Network. If you want to get amazing help with healing from narcissistic abuse, go to healfromanarcissist.com. If you want CBD products that are the best of the best, I use them myself, go to proze.com and use the code mentalhealth20, mentalhealth20. If you want to get daily perk ups that help retrain your brain to think more positively, go to perkupdaily.com. And also, just because this one's fun, snarkycandles.com. I guarantee you'll love them. Snarky with a Y, SNARKY candles.com. And don't forget, if you want to hear all the shows on the network about first responders, you can go to firstresponder.mentalhealthnetwork.com, and all of our shows that focus on narcissistic abuse, narcissisticabusehealingnetwork.com. Thanks for listening, and back to the show.
But will you ride the low, low, lows with me? Will you ride the low, low, lows with me?
One thing you can always count on at Mental Health News Radio Network and my show is that there will always be dogs around. Why? They are natural healers, excellent for your mental health. The original therapy dog Miles has something to say in just a moment. For now, please check out all of our amazing shows at mentalhealthnewsradionetwork.com and all your favorite podcast apps. Until next time, I'm Kristen Sananta Walker, and thank you for listening.
Me tonight, and I can ride the low, low, lows with me. I can ride the low, low, lows with me till my vision clears up perfectly. I can ride the low, low, lows with me.
boy.